Aloha gang, Dr. Russ Rosen here. Listen, I just had a wonderful conversation with a doctor, a very sweet and wonderful doctor who's thinking about doing some one-on-one coaching with me. And her challenge is following through an implementation. So she had mentioned to me that throughout really her entire life, she gets paralyzed. She bought the substation and then never really implemented it. She recently bought the Neuro Infinity from Clint Steele, and we love that program also. And she used it twice and then had a bad experience. And now it's been a year and it's just sitting there like a paperweight. And she kind of went through all the things she's tried over the years, which is really, really common. I have this happen all the time. So, for those of you that don't know me, I'm Dr. Russ Rosen. I help natural healthcare providers just like you thrive in a care versus care, true optimal health model where we help our patients get healthy and stay healthy for a lifetime, and they're happy to stay, pay, and refer. Okay, so I want to dive into this because it's really, really common. So we're always dealing with headspace and procedure. In my world, whenever I'm coaching doctors, we're like climbing a ladder, headspace, procedure. If our headspace gets too far ahead of our procedure, we fall and crash, and vice versa. Procedure gets too far ahead of our headspace, we crash. So the procedure usually is really pretty simple. Just do it. Okay. Sometimes they don't know how to do it, but you can learn how to do it. And it's funny because I said for those people who have issues, you know, they don't have any headspace issues. They just have issues doing it. The book Atomic Habits is such a wonderful book. And I was confident when I mentioned that to her, she would say, I've had it and I read it. And I said, when I started off, I said, you can, of course, get the book Atomic Habits, but it won't work for you. And she laughed and said, I know, I have it. I've read it. It doesn't work for me. And that book is a tremendous book, and it would work if you clean up the headspace stuff first. But if you don't clean up the headspace first, it's like saying, I want you to go touch that hot stove. Well, I've touched a hot stove before and I didn't like it. Okay, but we're going to break it down into steps. So we're going to break it down into small steps. We're going to make it habits. You can keep going and touching that hot stove. But but I don't feel comfortable touching the hot stove. So you can see we got to get the headspace cleared up as well as the procedures. I go through this all the time with doctors. 10 doctors will say, I want to get internal referrals. I'll say, go and ask these three questions. So five come back and they go, I got lots of internal referrals. Five come back and they say, I got none. The people who got none have headspace issues around it. I shouldn't have to ask for referrals. I'm a doctor, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so let's jump into the headspace issues because in her particular case, she's extremely bright, wonderful doctor, knows how to do it, just has a problem doing it, has a, sabotaging herself, integrating it, following through. Those are the things. And again, this is really, really common that this happens. Okay, so oftentimes when I'm working with my coaching clients, I'll use neuro-emotional technique or Byron Katie's work. If you're familiar with Scott Walker's work, neuro-emotional technique, we've had traumas in our past that are causing neuro-emotional subconscious issues. I've been burned by the stove when I was a little kid. Now I'm always afraid of being burned by the stove. I was, in class and everybody made fun of me when I was 8 years old. And now, I have challenges with being in front of a group or people making fun of me or me thinking that people are thinking these things about me. And it doesn't matter what wonderful procedures we come up with, they're not going to work. Classic ones are, I don't want to spend extra time. I mean, I don't want to spend less time. I don't want to charge more because they're going to think I'm all about the money, right? I don't want to spend extra time because I have people come in all the time. She happened to say this one, but I hear this all the time. I have people come in all the time. They tell me, well, I saw this other doctor down the street and it was like a mill there. It was just like a revolving door. and they badmouth that, and then you don't want to be like that. So then you give them all this extra time. Trust me, it's not the amount of time you spend. It really isn't. It's their experience. But that's for another video. Okay, but these usually go back to emotional traumas. I use Byron Katie's Loving What Is work, and I use Dr. Scott Walker's neuroemotional technique. If I was with patients, not remotely, I would do Dr. John Turner's work also. Uh, okay, QNRT, quantum neural reset technique. All right, but more often than not, we need to deal with the headspace and the procedures. We need to deal with them both. So in this particular case, she bought what I think it's 23 grand. I mean, it's a bunch. Neuro Infinity, tremendous piece of equipment. Used it twice, never used it again. It's still sitting there. Sees the value of it. We talked about, why would you want to use it? Do you see the value of it? Do you believe in it? Yes, yes, yes. I'm just afraid. Okay, so what are you afraid of? Well, I'm afraid of touching the stove. Well, what happened? Well, I felt stupid. I don't want to be seen as stupid. Okay, so in this case, all I did with her was helped her reframe this. So she had this bad experience. What's the fear? I don't want to look stupid. Could have done something like NET about it, decided to just reframe it for her. So I said, well, let me ask you this. And again, do you believe in it? Yes. Do you think it would actually work? Yes. Do you think it would actually help? Yes. So we got through all of that. So then all I did was I said, so what if we were to set it up where we asked our inner circle of patients? Do you have people that you know loved you? Yes. Okay, great. So what if I went to them and said, hey, listen, I wanted to ask a favor of you. I'm really excited about this Neuro Infinity. These are all the things it's going to be able to do. And it's going to take a bit for me to get comfortable using it. And I want to do, and again, I'm not suggesting you do all of this. These are just ways that you can make it easier for you to feel comfortable doing it. So I would like to do this. You're my inner circle. I will do it for free. Not suggesting that, I'm just lowering the boundaries, the barriers, right? I will do it for free. I'm going to do a study with a handful of people, and I trust your input and blah blah blah. And then we'll do this, and then the next one will be free. Again, I'm not suggesting that. I like charging for it, but in this particular case, it would lower the barriers. So, would you be comfortable being my guinea pig? I, it's quite a process learning to use it. I'll be using my manual. Okay. So I asked her, would you feel comfortable doing that? She goes, yeah, I really would. And I said, what do you think would happen to the patients that you just did this with? And she said, I think they'd really feel good that I trusted them and, they're on the inner circle. And I said, absolutely. So I then said, okay, and what I want you to do, because you don't want to look stupid, is how much time do you think you would need? And she said, like 20 minutes. And I said, I want you to schedule 40 minutes. I want you to have more than enough time, because if you make a mistake and you have to start it again, now you start to get flustered. You'll have a bad experience, touch the hot stove, you'll never do it again. She's like, right. So set extra time, set an hour, triple the time, whatever it takes. Okay. So then I said, if we did that, would you feel comfortable? She goes, yeah, I'd really feel comfortable doing that. So I said, great, let's look at the procedure. So I said, how many in a row do you think you would need to do so that you'd feel comfortable, like, yeah, I know how to do this now? And she goes, 10 or less. And I said, sure. Like, honestly, 4 or 5 she'll have it wired. But, let's just go with 10. So let's just say it's 10, and let's say it's an hour apiece. Could you find 10 hours this week? Well, in her practice, she's really not seeing a lot of volume. So yeah, she could easily this week. But God forbid, it takes 2 weeks to do 10 hours, 10 people, right? So could you do 10 people in the next week or two? Yes. Now, how much time do you think it would take to study ahead of time to prepare yourself to go in and do those? She said probably about an hour. I said, okay, give yourself 2 hours. So you got 2 hours to be able to prepare yourself. Go ahead and set these up. talk with these people, let them know that inner circle, this is what I'm going to be doing. Would you feel comfortable, etc. And then once you've done that, you can go wide. You can go with the wide with the rest of your practice. Okay. She said, okay. Now I knew this was coming. I just want you to know with the coaching I do, I knew the next thing she was going to say. Any idea what she said? Yeah, okay. So she goes, yeah, well, that's easy. I could do that. Okay, now a moment ago, that was impossible. It's been it's been over a year and she hasn't been able to do any, right? So now that's easy. I could do that. But what if I do it and then I don't get the results with them? Okay, next headspace procedure. So we just dove into that, and I took her through the process. Do you know other people that are getting great results? Yes. Do you recognize that you're a great chiropractor? She is. She gets amazing results. Sees X-rays change and all that kind of stuff. Do you recognize you're smart enough to come with the protocols, the lifestyle things that Clint recommends that they do? Yes, I could absolutely do that. What percentage of the people do you think get really great results? Jimmy Parker's 80-10-10. So we just kind of got through all that headspace stuff, and then the procedure became really simple. Oh, I can just integrate this into my practice. So in my coaching program, I am always dealing with headspace and procedures. And I hope you found value in that. If you did, comment below, let me know your thoughts. If you have any particular questions on some challenge you have, let me know. I'll get back with you on it. Maybe I'll make a video on it. Maybe we'll get on Zoom and talk it down. But this is what I see happen all the time. You have people that have been stuck for 30 years, 40 years in practice. They've never been able to make it. And I started coaching them in this way where we get clear about where you at, where do you want to get to, and then we look at what's been keeping you from getting there, headspace and procedures. And once you do that, their whole world changes. So I hope that helps. As always, much love and aloha. Bye, gang.